Hello, welcome to our 7th module. We already learned in the previous modules that there are 3 animal commodities in the large ruminant production. To enumerate, that includes the beef cattle, the dairy cattle, and the water buffalo. And within an animal commodity, there are different types of operation depending on the product that the farm would like to venture. In this presentation, we will identify some of the common operations in large ruminant production. At the end of this module, you are expected to differentiate the types of production operation in beef cattle, identify the different dairy operations based on the size of production, and identify the production operations in water buffalo. As mentioned, the operation of a typical large ruminant farm will depend on the product that the farm would like to produce. In beef cattle, the production of beef is the most common objective, but options are available. A farm can venture into cow-calf operation, into a breeder farm operation, or into a feeding fattening operation. This operation system is not exclusive to the beef cattle, especially the cow-calf and the breeder operation, as dairy and water buffalo farms are also practicing this operation, but in most cases for their own benefit. The main operation of dairy cattle and water buffalo production is the milking operation, where milk is the main end product. In a cow-calf operation, bulls and cows are raised to produce calves. These calves are then raised until they are weaned from their dams. Normally, weaning happens at around 7 to 8 months of age depending on the condition of the calves. These weaned calves can be sold to another farmer who will either raise them for fattening or as a replacement stock. Among the type of cattle raising, this is considered as the most challenging because the producer needs to be familiar with the reproductive physiology of the animals in addition to the different breeding systems. Since the production is housing cows, bulls, and calves, one must be familiar with all the herd managements including but not limited to feeding and health programs. The cow-calf operation can be further classified into extensive, intensive, and integrated system. In the extensive system, the animals are maintained in a vast tract of open lands where the animals are allowed to graze freely. This type of system is often termed as ranching. In the intensive system, the animals are confined in their pens and fed on a cut-and-carry feeding system. The animals are not allowed to graze the whole time they are present in the farm. This system requires a good pasture area to ensure a regular and continuous supply of feeds. In the integrated system, the operation is usually done with crops or plantation. The animals are raised in vacant lots or spaces where agricultural plantations such as corn, rice, or sugarcane is located. The animals are fed by the byproduct of this agricultural produce, making it a sustainable livestock operation. Because of the long gestation period of a cow, the return on investment in a cow-calf operation is longer compared to other operations. Another type is the breeder farm operation. It is actually like in the cow-calf operation, however, the objective of this operation is to produce animals for breeding purposes. In this operation, calves are raised until they are ready for breeding, provided that they pass the selection criteria. Cattle breeder farm are actually housing good quality or top-of-the-line purebred bulls and cows. This will make the farm more profitable as genetics dictates the quality of the calves. Since the main output of a breeder farm is quality breeding animal, a large herd is necessary for the selection of replacement stock. Same in the cow-calf, the farm can be maintained in an extensive, intensive, or integrated system. Feedlot fattening, or simply feedlot operation, is the most popular type of cattle raising in the Philippines. It simply involves the raising of newly weaned calves or culled mature heifers until they are ready for slaughter. The operation involves 2 stages of animal, thus requires different herd management, the growing stage and the finishing stage. In the growing stage, simple management can be employed and can be raised under extensive and allow them to graze, or intensive with cut-and-carry feeding system. In the finishing stage, The animals are raised in confinement or in intensive system. This is for them to keep in a minimum movement so that the feeds given to them are used for the development of tissues and not used for foraging purposes. Here is an example of a feedlot operation under intensive operation. Remember, in our modules on feeds and feeding, feedlot cattle are given high amount of concentrates in the diet to increase the energy content of the feed. This will help the fattening of the cattle and make them ready prior slaughter age. In the case of dairy cattle, dairy farmers are obviously raising them for their milk. As we recall from the previous modules, dairy operation can be based on the size of the herd, from individual smallhold operations to cooperatives up to commercial operations. Normally, in an individual smallhold operations, dairy cattle are raised both under extensive and intensive system. They allow the animal to graze for a certain period of the day and kept them in the barn during milking. Groups of dairy farmers organize cooperatives where they can use common facilities such as but not limited to the feeding and milking facilities. The good thing about cooperatives is that they can share common resources with little expense. The government is normally subsidizing these farms and help them in using technologies, especially in the product production, development, as well as helping them to reach and secure market. There are also big commercial farms. In most cases, this operation is purely intensive and feed is delivered through the cut and carry system. Commercial farms are normally handling purebred dairy cattle and provide them an environment that are comfortable to the animal to maximize its milking potential. Dairy calves are normally obtained from dairy breeder farms. It is like in the cow-calf, but the product is a dairy calf to be raised for its milk. In the Philippines, water buffalo are raised for three purposes: meat, milk, and draft. Like in the beef cattle, water buffalo can be raised like in the cow-calf operation. Upon reaching the weaning age, cow-calf are sold to be raised by a buyer for a milk, draft power, or for slaughter upon reaching the desired age. In the case of the carabao, they are better raised in an extensive system as animal can support itself provided that there is a good pasture area and a water area where they can wallow. Please also take note that in the Philippines, there is a law protecting the lives of our Philippine carabao. Male carabao can only be slaughtered when they are over 7 years old, while female carabao can only be slaughtered when they are over 11 years of age. In the case of purebred or crossbred water buffalo, an intensive system is more appropriate. Purebred or crossbred water buffalo are mainly used for their milk rather than for their meat. And that concludes our short topic about the different production operations in the large ruminant industry.